Hello and welcome to the LedgerCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard here with Josh Olsowich. Hey, Josh.
Mr. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to be with you, sir, and it's great to be with our listeners. Hey, this episode is brought to you by Matcha. Go to ledgerstatus.com/matcha. Check it out today. Aggregated liquidity. Doesn't matter where the pools are, where all that stuff is. You just use the same thing every time. That's Matcha. Ledgerstatus.com/matcha. It's the only way to trade on chain because it's the best freaking way to trade on chain. I love it. I use it all the time. Fantastic product. Don't bother searching for where the liquidity is. Just use Matcha and it'll find it for you. Find you the best deal, lowest slippage. They even have OTC deals that are really cool. It's great. Ledgerstatus.com/matcha. All right, Josh, could it be that the bottom is in? Is it possible? Give me some hope. Start me off with some hopium.
I don't think it's fair to call it yet. I mean, I saw somebody call this an inverted head and shoulders. I just about cringed out of my skin. But we did a thing with the conference, whether or not
are you associating it with a conference? Come on.
Whether or not, let me finish my dagnam sentence. Whether or not that was the reason, I don't know. But the timing did coincide with words being spoken on a video call during the B word. Okay. So
that conference.
Yeah. I've heard
ETHCC or whatever that's called.
I've heard almost nothing about that conference other than Vitalik said we should do social media, which good luck because the blockchain is already infinity size and nobody's talking about that.
I heard there was a good rave, a rave by
okay.
Aave. Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I see. I saw the lows on ETH be defended in the 1700s, and now the 200-day be rejected, and now we are in no man's land. But it's probably a decent opportunity for shorts between 2K and 2100 if that's what you're into, or offloading from a risk perspective to buy on the top side. It's not confirmed yet, but I don't know. Unless everybody gets too bullish too quickly, I kind of like it.
See, the funny thing is VTC looks like a head and shoulders, whereas alts, especially comp, but also ETH a little bit, looks like a diagonal head and shoulders. Comp is the best actual head and shoulders, inverted building. Yeah. And then everything else is kind of like diagonal. VTC is definitely not any of those things. So ETH was working on that.
You're kind of talking about this. Yeah, it's getting rejected by the 200-day as well. Comp is, but in my
that's fine.
Looks healthier than a lot of stuff, and like you said, I guess could have some kind of head and shoulders-y thing.
It's still on the table until the right shoulder is broken. Just to answer the question of everybody wondering, where's the break point?
Yesterday, I posted some hopium about comp, saying if you like it at 400, you'll love it at 700. Because I'm talking my bags, first of all. But second of all, it's kind of what I would expect if Ethereum breaks up above its 200-day, above local resistance, and has a somewhat decent-sized move. I feel like the next stop for comp over high 400s, confirmation of this head and shoulders or horizontal level, which new highs, whatever you want to call it, would be kind of the underside of its all-time highs, which would put it around 700. So this is my comp hopium. That's right. That right there. That's what I'm looking for in DeFi if we don't get rejected by everything right this moment. Now, the smartest thing for me to have done would have been to basically risk off of all of my DeFi and ETH stuff as it all jumped into the 200-day moving average. But I didn't really do that. I just kind of was lazy and stayed in the spot because I got pretty good entries, so I'm just chilling.
Another setup that I think is still alive is Sushi, which had a W double bottom. It's the second W in a row, really, after the Adam and Eve. This one's more of a W for you chart pattern maxis wondering what the difference is between an Adam and Eve and a W. W with a bull div past the bear pitchfork and into the cloud. So I still like 14 on Sushi, I do. That looks like a very real setup to me. This as well has that diagonal head and shoulders quality to it. You're not going to see it in a textbook, but you're going to see it here on LedgerCast. That's why you listen.
Yeah, that one's got interesting governance stuff and fundamental news potentially going on. Also, with some fundamental news, poor Thorchain got hacked, and after, let's see, it got hacked yesterday and again today, right? And that was, I think, the third and fourth, or not hacked necessarily. A design decision was exploited today, but it was a questionable design decision. I feel bad for them, but it attempted to recover after yesterday's draining of funds, where it was a gray hat hackers, I guess what you would call it. They only took 8 or 9 million or something, but there was like everything essentially at risk. So they could have done worse. They left a message that said, "Fix your stuff, Thorchain," basically. It tried to recover on today's daily, and now today there's this phishing attempt thing going out where someone airdrops some other token. I don't remember what it was, like ETH or something like that. And then if you try to sell that, it will then drain the rune out of your wallet if you have ETH rune. So that's pretty dangerous. I think eventually this actually might be a buy. Like, it's not like their goals and their mission are going away, but like they are facing enormous obstacles at this point because their network might not actually be live for quite a long time. But Rune's definitely one to watch from a setup perspective, especially if you can end up getting it on some kind of significant discount. The next move down is a severe gap. You know, it's got Eiffel Tower qualities. And I don't mean to say it in a mean way. I just think it's possible for people to essentially lose their hopium. The Rune Marines, Runites, Runies get depressed because all of their unrealized riches from being sub $1 just in January, if they fully reverse, they could capitulate. So it's worth watching. No entries for
I'm
me.
not touching it. I'm not touching it for another 2 years, so have fun.
Yeah.
I can get hacked 65 more times before I touch it.
I think
There's just
it's
no
July,
way.
It's July now. I think I could be interested in it like sometime when they're like starting to build up their network relaunch. So like maybe September, October, if the winds of the market are keen to be there. So, but I hate to say, like, I'm really not interested levels wise until like sub $2 for sure, maybe sub $1. It just looks quite bad. It looks like it wants to lose these current levels. No network for a while. I feel for the Rune folks. I'm not trying to, I know I had my beef with them, but we kissed and made up, had an olive branch, and hope they make it through. Good luck. But fundamental news of the day, that was a big one.
I want to talk about Kathy and Sam, but should we focus on charts first?
Yeah, let's focus on charts and then we'll get to the fundamentals.
Okay.
So I want to talk a little bit more about Ethereum. Basically, if this was inverted, it would be a prime setup for me. Let me reverse it and see if it'll break everything.
Then hit the red button instead of the green button.
Yeah.
Forehead.
Yeah, I know. But I like to have a long preference. So the reason
that is a beautiful textbook, inverted head and shoulders. Oh my god.
So not gonna lie, inverted ETH looks pretty good. This would be I would be willing to punt this any day of the week, any asset, etc. from a long position. I'm not the type that thinks like you can just invert something and it trades perfectly, because I think markets tend to be long biased. But the risk reward here is good for being out since this is inverted. That doesn't make any sense. Risk reward is good for shorts, I guess, if that's your avenue. But USD would make sense here, just purely looking at the short. Now, this is not where my bias is. This is where the chart tells me. So this is a cope that I have to come to terms with, because what I would want to see is it consolidate in a way that I'm comfortable with, like in a like I want to see it consolidate under this line as a sign that it can break up, because I want to be bullish bias, and that's not because of like crypto hopium. It's because markets are easier to long than they are to short broadly. So that's what I'm thinking. That said, if it starts to show low time frame hints of breaking down, I will step out of the way and I will exit my long spot positions. But I'm only interested in spot longs at the moment. Do you agree with my ETH analysis?
I agree with everything. Spot longs make sense to me. If you are trading, if you're a trader, I always love, this is my new thing to distinguish between traders and investors. If you're a trader on low time frames, yeah, go ahead. Like me, sell 18, rebuy 24, sell 18 again, which is what I did. Not all of my ETH, but anyway, do whatever you want. Near term, long term, if you're not in or just looking to get in, 13 to 6 is where I'd get in. That's it. This is the 1 year MA. This is the pitchfork. You can make fun of those targets all you want. Chat. I know Ledger won't, because he's a upstanding gentleman.
That's right.
But that's where, as an investor, this stuff gets investable, because right now it's not investable based on these indicators.
Yeah. Now, if we switch to Bitcoin, the confluence is good, even though like Bitcoin pattern wise looks a lot different. It's also against diagonal resistance, also against 20-day resistance. It's far from its 200-day though, which is an interesting component. ETH essentially is using 200-day as immediate support or resistance. It's bouncing around it. Bitcoin is $13,000 away from it. So a 40% move? It's a significant move from its 200-day. Yeah, 38% move from its 200-day. So significantly different. Bitcoin's chart looks worse, but in some ways it might be the better value of overall. Like if you're not looking at chart, you're just looking at like distance to mean reversion, Yeah,
I mean, it's 46 possible. Yeah. Do I need to see a few more things to be sure of that? I do.
I would like to see this 20-day flip on Bitcoin to really get hyped up, which is moving down because that's what happens in a downtrend. But maybe 33K. I still have my alert at 33,333 in honor of Carpe Noctem 33K by July.
It's funny that was like, I'm not going to say it was a throwaway technical thing that I posted, but
it was so small. It's a small one that everybody hung on to.
The stupidest stuff sometimes just blows up on social media.
Now 3 years later, here we are, and everybody's upset.
I still have people messaging me about that.
It's 3 years later to the month, and it's right on target, and people are mad. Why are they mad, Josh?
I don't know. Yeah, for the cloud, I'd like to see a bullish TK cross. This could be a very, very slow edge to edge through September into October. It's very similar to 2019 April, where everybody was calling for 3K. Or no, people were calling for like 600. What were they down here? Whatever this was. Yeah, it was at 3K. People were calling for less, sub 1,000.
1,800, 900. People were calling for all kinds of stuff. There's some potential for that now.
So I'd love to see 3 months of consolidation. I'd love to see a slam dunk chart pattern. I'd love to see an edge to edge. That's all very easy to trade. This chop BART crap is it's gross.
Actually, if I was to draw a pattern that would be fit your criteria and be interesting, it would include something like this, where it could end up being like a really nasty head and shoulders, or like there was this meme, and I actually like these as a chart pattern, but Peter Brandt had something like this on some commodities chart, and then it had a label on it that said rectangle, and Twitter was like, thank you for telling us that shape is a rectangle. But that was his point. Like, you can just have this broad range for a long period of time. But I think you could draw this, like if we had another equal high at 40K that we rejected off of, then came back down to 34, 35, and then back up. that would actually fit the criteria for like a inverted head and shoulders after a drawdown. So like something like that would make sense to me. But it basically tells you like it still favors longs relative to like the lows, but it's not. There's no confirmation, etc. It's just kind of a no man's land for Bitcoin until 34 to 40 though. I kind of like that trade.
At the very least, we got to get above the 8-hour cloud first. And yeah, you got to move the timeframes around to know if the market slows down, you move up the timeframes. If the market speeds up, you move down the timeframes. If you get something on backtesting, which is what this is, that shows you we're above and then we're below. The moment we get above this, great, right? Alligator fractals on the daily also show a very similar type of thing with how these look. These are curling up, but again, we're not there yet, right?
Yeah,
we're not there.
One of the things that disturbs me, and my buddy Messi, he's been taking a break from Twitter because people are annoying, but I talk to him every day. He brought up the point that like sentiment changed immediately, like one green candle up, and everybody's goes from like hyper bearish to you're not gonna make it if you're not long, like all in 10x, and that's not good. And that's also showing up in funding already. Like longs are already having to start paying a premium. So when the sentiment can still
that's
so easily,
that's
it's
just
not great.
That's just crypto Twitter, right? Like who cares?
Yeah, but by the time, I don't know, these long consolidations, it's better if they stay bearish. Like you remember how bearish people got after we broke from 4K to 6K, and they were like, sell it, and then we just slammed right through it, you know? That's what you really need. You need that disbelief.
Yeah, I agree. It's basically, so it's like 100 days down 55%. That seems reasonable, right?
It is reasonable, but it's not like a maximum, you know?
In a normal world, that would be fine.
In a normal world, it would be fine. But to match bear market bottoms, this would be like a hyper extension of a bull market drawdown. It's a little too broken for me to truly be a bull market drawdown because it broke all the high time frame stuff, the 20-week, 200-day, etc. So to me, it's like, is this going to be a mini bear and longer consolidation, or are we going to have a proper bear and have 75% down off the top, you know?
Yeah, we're definitely in a bear. Just to clear up any concerns one way or the other.
Yeah.
And the simplest thing you can watch is the 1050. The 1050, again, hasn't crossed yet. The moment it does, I'll be right on that bull train with everybody else, longing the crap out of it, but we're not there yet. Go ahead, what were you saying?
I was just saying, for the full bear market to play out, it would only be 70% down to go to prior all-time highs at 19. If we have like a full classical sized bear drawdown, which what did the last one peak at? 80%, something like that. That would take us 12.
A lot of people don't realize is most of the people in Bitcoin are still in significant profit. If you've only been around since January, obviously you're not, but 99% of the people, I'll say it's probably that high. It feels like it's that high.
I will say, Josh,
I still wake up and I see the number and I don't believe it. To see where we've been and where we,
because I normalized my new, monetary value in my life. Yeah. So one thing that I do see is first green candle in 3 weeks, but a little more of a convincing bottom-y type candle, perhaps.
No, that looks like junk. So? It looks so bad. It looks so bad.
You don't think so?
It's just constant droop.
Kind of like it. It's got a couple days left to go.
It's got some performance anxiety.
It
looks terrible.
I don't like this like 1, 2, 3, 4 wicks into like a similar zone, you know, basically saving 30K. At the same time, Sam from Alabama Research, which is my new favorite meme. That's Alameda Research, by the way. They basically are admitting they're hoovering a bunch of coins around 30K, but like they can't do that alone, you know, or it could break. Like it's hard. It's not impossible, but it's pretty hard for like one person, one entity to support a market fully. But we basically bottomed on each of these. Actually, there was a good thread somebody did where Sam Trabucco tweeted basically that Alameda was bullish, it marked 3 bottoms here. So in my mind, they and maybe some others are scooping 30K price coins, and they're betting on upside, but that's a little scary, right? Because what happens when they decide they're done buying? That's the counter argument. Now you're going to bring up Bitfinex highs on or Bitfinex longs on me.
Yeah, I mean, Alameda's just filling their bags, just like 3AC, just like CMS, just like any VC, right?
3AC
Cyano.
Short as crap.
Yeah, right. So they're gonna talk about whatever they're doing, whatever. That's fine. Just as long as people are aware of that. Yeah, Finex, like Jack is saying in the chat. Shout out to Jack. But yeah, Finex longs continue to increase. I don't know if this is Paolo just longing Tether Treasury or what. Could be migration from those Chinese exchanges. Who knows? But yeah, that gives me serious trepidation at a bottom. Previously in April 2019, again, we had a flippening of long shorts leading into that explosion in price at 3K. So this does not look good on paper for sure.
It's been interesting because everybody's watching those shorts that oscillate so much recently, because there's like one whale that's just putting on and then taking off shorts constantly. But on a relative basis between longs and shorts, there's still way more longs in the ecosystem, which is scary on Bitfinex. That said, Bitfinex is, while they have that tracking overall, it's so much smaller than the rest of the market. So I don't know what to make of it.
The one other bullish thing I can find is this like falling channel with an RSI bullish divergence. But it is very subtle. It is definitely there, very subtle. So I do like that. I like that we are, instead of pointing up, we're pointing down with weakening momentum on RSI. This just happens to be a 3-day, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I was about to look up what there. The daily is starting a little RSI uptrend. I don't know. There's some things that indicate that perhaps sellers are a little tired. Doesn't mean they're all the way tired. You can do the opposite for quite a long time.
Just ask yourself, does this look like a good short here? You know, it looks like it could be if it goes lower, but it doesn't look like I'm going to load the boat in shorts, right?
Let's just look at another one while we're doing it. So on the way up, we made a higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high, and on the RSI, higher high, but then lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Yet we went up throughout that. So that's a much longer term. I believe you were talking about this the whole time it was happening. Longer term version of lessening momentum while the price was rising, while the volume was going down, indicating that a break of some sort was going to occur. Now, in hindsight chart analysis 101, which we all love to do, you would say, in fact, the lower high confirms that the price was a lower high at the same time the RSI had been weakening, the volume had been weakening, sell volume started to spike a little bit here. That's a perfect exit. Why didn't you all exit? Well, I don't know. Most didn't. But in hindsight, you look at that, it looks pretty clear. In hindsight, we'll probably say something on the reverse side, right? Like if this starts to tick up, and the price keeps going down, 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 and everybody's panicking at 24K, saying 14K on the way, but all this is telling us that those sellers are exhausted. That could be a conversation that we have coming in the, 2-month time frame. If we continue downwards, I don't have a strong belief, honestly, that we're going to hit like the total doom and gloom targets, because I think the same way 30K is being bought, I think the low 20Ks will also be bought. So 14K people can go somewhere else. We're going to get a nice solid bounce well before we get to 14K. IMO.
Well, if the bull div doesn't hold, what you're looking for on the daily time frame is RSI to get down to like Corona levels, which is like 15. November 2018, it got to 10. I don't know if we have like that kind of OI left to even push us down there.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I know, like, Phoenix Longs we just talked about, but yeah, I don't know if there's that many people left to like get rid of,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't actually think it looks bad. Like, I think we could make this move up now. I have said on previous shows that I think the better way to get a long-term bounce is to break down, right? Go ahead and just take out the 24K type of area, get a bigger bounce to the upside. The relative upside would be higher doing that.
Yeah. Why, I don't know why people get disappointed. It's like, if you know how to trade, buy the lows, sell the highs, that's it. What are you worried about?
Right.
If it goes to 14, buy it. Like, what is the big deal? Yeah, Bitcoin's going to be in a bad spot for a bit.
Let's just look at it this way. If you believe it's going to 42K, which I do, if you go from 24K to 42K, you've made 75% on Bitcoin. If you go from 32K to 42K, you've made 30-something percent. So you get a better win if you can buy it from lower, if you still have the upside favorability. If you're protected from the downside, getting the cheaper price is always better. So, when people complain about it, it's because they're talking their current positioning, because they're in right now. They don't want it to go down more. That's where that comes from. Now, it could totally break up. It's like right on the verge, just like we talked about with ETH. It's a definite time to pay attention. We did a fake breakout. I shouldn't ignore that because I talked about it last week. Like, I felt if we revisit the lows, we would not hold them. Well, so far we did. We had this like Uber Chad candle off of it. My bias from previous would tell me I need to have caution here. Because I didn't believe in this kind of triple, quadruple bottom type of concept, especially with that daily close. But still, like I changed that bias above 33, 34K because it would break the longer term consolidation.
If we break 35, that's
for you.
The level for me where I start to love again and look for some longs on a margined basis.
See, that's just boring. 35 to 40, it's like, feels like nothing. I'd almost rather the 24 to 40. I hate to say it that way because I always like when the number goes up, but sometimes the number has to go down to go up stronger.
Well, see, I have a higher upside. I like 45, 46 based on the daily cloud. So I might pause at 40, reconsolidate at 40, whatever. But again, I don't know if there's that many shorts to even squeeze. People talking about a short squeeze and stuff. I'm like, guys, like who's shorting? Like, there's not that much OI that's short.
What are you shorting stablecoin people? Like, you're shorting people who are in cash. That's not really how it works. They still have to FOMO. From a pure open interest perspective, I don't think there's really a great fit for a short squeeze.
Volumes everywhere are down to nothing.
Someone
it's going to be tough.
We should read it because they said it in all caps. Danla Martina. Fundamentally not getting above 42K without news. That was Tesla pump previously. Okay. I read it in all caps. I think there are technical reasons why 42K is important. I don't know if I assign the Tesla pump to it. I can't even remember where that was. So anyway.
That was January 29th. There was some continued rumors about Amazon jumping into crypto. Amazon posted a job for blockchain project manager, or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah,
I saw that. Do we want to recap the trifecta of polarizing Twitter or like legacy people interested in crypto? There was Elon, Kathy Wood, and Jack Dorsey all on a panel together. I didn't watch most of it. Did you?
No, I didn't watch any of it.
So we have a lot to say.
I just want to say that it's hilarious that the ETH people are getting so upset over the Ethiopian flag. It's like, guys, they do this. They've done this for Twitter every
it's
Olympics. This is not
Olympics. But
it's just hilarious that Jack tweeted that out. Oh my god, I love it. I love it.
It was a good troll.
It was the best. It was the best, especially because the ETH people's Jimmy's got so wrestled over that. But anyway,
Make sure
Kathy.
I'm not hiding any DMs here, but yeah, here's the tweet. It's very funny.
The big thing with Kathy is she keeps buying coin and she's buying GBTC every day. It seems like
Kathy.
no, the thing with Kathy.
Oh, I thought you said BitConnect Kathy. Sorry, the thing with
Kathy Wood of ARK Invest. So she either knows something or is just super convicted that coin is going higher, that GBTC is going higher. She's maybe convinced that they're going to convert to an ETF eventually. I don't know. But would you be buying coin at these levels at that rate? She's buying it every day, nonstop. Coin for those who don't know is Coinbase, by the way.
Yeah.
And you can't be bullish Coinbase if you think crypto is going to collapse. So you got to think she thinks crypto is going to be okay, especially if she's buying GBTC. I don't know. It's just like people, again, we talk about Sam and Alameda. We talk about 3AC and all those other guys. We talk about the whales because they tend to move markets, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Kathy and ARK, I think they've done incredible stuff. It's hard for me. Their largest position is still Tesla. It's been riding its 200-day moving average. It looks actually absolutely fascinating in legacy markets with earnings coming up. Woo! July 26th.
I think Tesla's a big dump hit. It's got a descending triangle quality to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Looks like distribution, but anyway. This would be hilarious if it just mooned, but I mean, that could dictate the direction of the whole market for the course of a week, what Tesla does. Like, imagine how many retail people get washed by that, and certainly ARK would get washed if it dumped too. But yeah, anyway, I think she did an amazing job. Her portfolio construction absolutely baffles me. So whatever.
So we had that. We had the conference.
Make a ton of money, so it's not like it's a bad company in that regard. They make a ton of money. Maybe it's even a relative value. I don't know. I haven't looked at it, but
it's so tied correlation wise to BTC and ETH. I think BTC more than ETH, but you can't be bearish and buy that and think it's going to go in the opposite direction of BTC. I don't know. It's just weird, right?
Also, she's been buying it like since it came out, so like she's
right
down $100 per coin, if you will, from her earliest buys. But she's essentially the floor down here. Like, she's scooping it every single day. I haven't looked at the fundamental metrics, see how this all plays out. But if volume dies and their fees go down and nobody cares about trading Doge, which they listed too late, et cetera, it could be bad. I don't know. I don't want to buy this chart. I mean, I guess the RR is good, but I'd rather own Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Which is what I did, actually. I own GBTC right now. I actually think if Bitcoin does have upside, the GBTC 14% discount or whatever is incredible. Here's another, I think you just call this bearish crypto because, if crypto's risk on, it's not been acting risk off. So if it's risk on, well, the freaking NASDAQ is plowed to new highs, just insane. And Bitcoin and crypto can't follow through. So that's not good either.
Well, it's almost like crypto's the adult in the room saying, guys, we're a little too heated here, Stocks nope, we're going higher.
Last week was one of the ugliest legacy candles I've ever seen. And this week opened gap lower and then turbo chatted straight through it and put in one of these god-like candles. Since from a percent perspective, it's probably not that high from in crypto people's brains, but that's a 4% candle on the Qs, and I mean, good gracious. Part of me just wonders, are we just gonna blow the lid off in legacy? Is this just gonna be some kind of long-term blow off top type of thing, or what? It's a big move for TradFi, as 8-Bit says in the chat. Don't know. Perfect wedge and breakout, retest, pump. When you look at that.
Yeah, it doesn't give me good feelings because we're gonna follow it on the downside 100%.
Yeah, but we're not getting the upside move. That's such a.
I know.
Give us a break. Who are these bears? Who are these crypto bears selling all their coins? How dare you?
It's the roughers of the world. They made their $1 billion.
Now they're out. They're pumping and dumping our coin.
They really did. They pumped and dumped us. They left us on the side of the road. DXY still looks good to me. It's going to take some time to play out, but I'm highly confident this goes higher despite fundamentals perhaps saying otherwise.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's going to go sideways, personally.
Well, you're the opposite of correct, so. It's going to... Ideally, this goes higher leading up to October and then cools off and gives us a good Q4 and stocks don't dump. That's kind of best case scenario.
So the trajectory of GBTC is kind of hilarious since 2017 because it was at such a premium in 2017 and now it's at such a discount that GBTC is already back to the same levels it was at the prior all-time high in 2017. In fact, just a little bit below it. Yeah. This actually looks good to me. If I was looking at just this chart, I do like it. I like where we are, but that's trying to chart a wrapped product of the actual product. But does that interest you at all?
No, I mean, I'm kind of just sick of talking about GBTC, honestly. Between the unlocks and Barry and all the crap that they're adding and the discount and the premium and the pink sheets and blah, 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 blah. It's just never ending. Just turn it into an ETF or just go away. I don't even care anymore, honestly.
Well, I think it is going to become an ETF. It should already be because this inefficiency in GBTC is terrible for retail. So they act like they want to, fix retail, but then they don't. Like they just make things that are harder for retail.
Yeah. Is there anything else that looks good to you?
That looks good?
Yeah.
I've been trying to inch my way back into synthetics a little bit, although it looks a little janky today. Overall, it felt like it had put in a bottom to me, so I'm just trying to play the retraces of that, basically. It's a bet I'm willing to take. So I've kind of been looking for this Ethereum relative bounce back to its 200-day. So we'll see if we get all the way there. I just started into that in the past day or two.
AXS isn't for me. The same reason Rune wasn't for me. Anything that's up 30,000% over the past 2 months is have fun. You guys can trade all that all you want. It's not for me.
Yeah, comp's been my more significant position by far. I just think on a relative basis, on a dollar basis, I like it. It's been battling Ethereum, the Ethereum pair versus the 200-day, which almost anyone that's a buyer of comp is already someone invested in ETH. So the question is it better to be in than ETH? If it actually gets a significant reach up from here, then I like that a lot. So from the break of the 200-day towards like kind of the first levels of resistance is about a 40% ETH relative move. So unless it loses this kind of rectangle against ETH, I don't mind having my exposure in comp for DeFi stuff. That's my thoughts on that.
Well, if BTC reverts to 40 to 46, which is a massive range, but if it goes anywhere there, then ETH could easily go 28 to 3.
Right.
And then, can DeFi break up that hard? I don't know.
Yeah. You already brought up sushi, but the chat is asking about it again. I have price ranges all over this chart, but I actually think sushi looks great. They also seem to be coming to some kind of terms between Arca on one side and all the other VCs on the other about how to get sushi to sell some coins to these investors, which basically just gives sushi liquidity. Personally, I think the sushi proposal should just be a schedule for selling sushi to the public market. That makes the most sense to me. And then anyone can show up on the other side of those trades. And as long as it's clear and transparent and they show why they want to or are selling sushi coins to fund the project, then that's fine. I actually like the current setup. I don't like that it's above those kind of negotiated prices, the one that Arca put forward. But I like this chart. I'd be fine. I'd be fine owning some sushi here. Because it saved that bottom, basically. It just turned it into a double bottom, but it also flipped its faster moving averages. So the upside from here is maybe $12, something like that. I'd be out of this at $12, $12.50. Testing the underside of that range, I wouldn't like that at all. So
yeah, there's VPVR resistance from 13 to 15.
Yeah, but
the thing about the fundamental
8 to 12's 50% trade. In a bear market, I'll take a plus 50% anytime I can get it.
Yeah, I like that definitely. The thing about the fundamentals is, like, on paper, Uni should own everybody and nothing else should exist. But the problem is the fully diluted value of the token is different, right? Versus you had tweeted about this. It's different than the Sushi fully diluted value. So Sushi looks incredibly undervalued relative into that metric, but like, is that going to matter? I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah,
because if you look at the PE ratio of Sushi, it's always at the bottom. It's always the lowest. If you look at the PE ratio of Uni, it's always in the middle, right? And like, if you look at the supply side protocol revenue or supply side revenue of Uni versus the world, Uni is killing it on a protocol revenue basis, but that may not be enough to save the token if the market cap based on the circulating supply is just too insane. Right?
And those profits for Uni don't accrue back, right? In Sushi, they are delivered. Profits are delivered to token holders through their staking programs and other stuff like that, right? Whereas Uni, no profits from the protocol are delivered to token holders. So that's...
Right, Sushi and everybody else who isn't Uni has to be super innovative in what they do in order to compete, which is great. But the question is, like, looking at these revenue models and whatever, like, this PE ratio, Sushi's always at the bottom. It's really weird because I want to buy Sushi. I want to like it more than I do, but it's just tough. Because I don't know what's going to win out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The fully diluted value of the market cap with having no protocol revenue, or Sushi having some protocol revenue with a much smaller total market cap, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Hey, if I was going to provide just like here's a bear market boring trade setup. Here's one. So per compound, like we talked about, if you bought the dip as it is today, it's at one of these kind of prior levels that have been relevant. And it looks like a reversal retest. So if you bought it at 390, that's what it is right now. I would personally be able to stop out below like 370 or so, kind of where it had these other smaller down moves. So if you wanted a hard stop, you could do it at like 360. And then 450 is the weekly closing level. So that could be your upside. Now, this is a pretty boring trade. The RR is only 1.8. So it's plus 14% for minus, say, 7%. Just be easy. So 2 to 1. But that is a perfectly reasonable bear market trade. Like just trading tokens in a range. Try not to think too hard about it. And I think sometimes people look at these setups and think, oh, like I'm looking for a 10x or something. And I just don't think you have to look at that. I think you can just be smarter about it. If you wanted to play it to a higher take profit, you could play it to the previous high, and that's more like a 35% gain with a similar stop. And this would be what that might look like. So that gives you more of a 4 to 1. So you could play it initially to the weekly high at 448, and then maybe you hold on and see if you can capture 520 or so. So that's how I'm essentially looking at trading when I look at DeFi right now. I want to be long focused. I want to wait for proper buys. I didn't buy the bottom of comp because it broke down from the last place I was looking at it. I bought it once it recovered. So I think I'm in profit on it, but I'm not in like huge profit on it. It's basically, I think it's close to where I entered. But this is the way I look at this. Am I willing to tolerate 7-8% down? Sure. Am I gonna hold it for like ever and back to 200 if everything goes to crap? No. I'll take my loss and move on. But I look at this RR, the risk versus the reward, and it looks good to me. So that's how I'm approaching the market.
Yeah, I like it to your previous 700 spiel.
Yeah. The 700 is like it breaks above that. Like you can evolve essentially what your trade looks like as you go along and determine, is this still a good trade to be in? That's something that CryptoCred I think has some videos that does a good job of explaining. You can essentially redo your RR every day, and then you have your entry price, like where that is, and then you determine like where should my stop be now. You evolve it, and is it still a good trade today? A lot of times that might end up enabling you to close a little earlier than you would before, or something like that. Take profit too soon. I don't know. There's pros and cons of trade management, but it's all trade management.
Yeah, the comp looks good. Even all these DeFi coins have some shades of that diagonal inverted head and shoulders like we were talking about. I like Aave to 380, 420.
Aave looks good. It just had that rejection that under its kind of prior range that it already rejected off once, but the fact that it's bouncing up again is nice. I don't know. Sometimes you just jive with a certain chart. So I've been jiving more with comp, synthetics, and sushi, and less with Aave, but that's just my feeling. It's not anything to do with what anyone else should do.
In the plums, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, if one breaks up, they should all break up. But I'd look to comp first because it looks the cleanest. And the DeFi perp on FTX has it as well. It just, to me, more looks like a falling wedge still filling itself in potentially to October. I don't know. But if all these inverted head and shoulders break up, then DeFi perp's going to break up too.
Yep. And all of these basically depend on those levels that we talked about being real. Like it gets back above, ETH gets above the 200-day moving average and, gets above 2100. Whatever way you look at it, breaks above its range. If that happens, then you'll see some rapid moves on some of these DeFi things. In my mind, that's how
it's also dependent on BTC and ETH not breaking down.
Correct.
So long as those,
correct. I guess if they could go sideways, they could range, and then the DeFi stuff could still do it. Yeah.
Anything but breaking down.
Yeah. Hey, I want to end the show with a shout out to whoever it was that talked to my brother's coworker here in Alabama. And said they listened to the show. They listened to Ledgercast and that we've helped them in their journey. So shout out to you, person at the jewelry store. That's who it was. So
nice.
Yeah, we have a fan here in Alabama. They saw my brother's name on a text message from my brother's coworker while they were in the store, and they were like, "Does that happen to be Brian Krogsgaard's relation?" And they were like, "Is his brother in the crypto or something?" And it was like, "Yes." And the coworker happened to know that. Anyway, pretty funny.
Love it.
Thanks for being here. Josh, am I missing anything?
No, I think we did pretty good for a week of essentially not so much going on.
A week where I think what we did was we didn't die. That's really what it did more than anything. So I hope all of y'all survived. Don't get don't get too excited one way or the other. Just play the charts. Don't let your hopium get put up. Have fun. If you enjoy the show, you can rate it on iTunes and those kinds of places. Go to ledgerstats.com/matcha to check in with them. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you later. See ya.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely